Aloha everyone. Today is, believe it or not, January the 2nd of 2018. If you believe in all that calendar stuff. But anyway, it does keep us a little organized, I guess. So anyway, welcome. This is the Kelly and Kelly Crypto Radio Show, and we are starting out this year, as we kind of moved into it last year, doing our shows on the Lunar Moon Divine Feminine Collective calendar. So that's why I kind of make fun of Tom. So as we're changing that shift over there as well, I'm Kelly B. I'm over on the east coast of Turtle Island, and my partner Kelly Ann is not feeling very well today over on the west coast of Turtle Island, so she will not be with us today, but I'm sure she's looking forward to this call today because we have a special guest returning. But let me just say that here at Nexus Partners, which we are very much a part of, is a great place for anybody to position that wants to learn and earn or just learn about cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies. To get your fundamentals, it's so very important. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, but you can earn Bitcoin, Ethereum tokens, and Nexus tokens by choosing to be a Nexus partner. Earn residual income at Nexus Rewards, direct sales earning off of every transaction, no matter what instrument is used within the sales territory. That includes fiat. This conversation is sponsored by Nexus with two X's, an open source, decentralized ERC20 token on the Ethereum network with 15-second teleportation, and the internal token for Nexus Rewards, increasing buyer demand with every transaction, actually increasing value in the token. So that's what we're doing here. A really incredible model that we've got set up. So you know, take a look at that. If you're new here, welcome, and get back to who invited you here. So all right then, with that said, I want to unmute our special guest. Our special guest today is Andy Hoffman. And Andy, the last time Andy was with us was September the 18th, and I'm so glad he is back. Andy, we've interviewed 3 or 4 times on the Kelly and Kelly radio for over the last almost 2 years now. And we first interviewed Andy. He was still in the precious metals market. So let me just give you a little rundown. On Andy here. He started out his financial career with Solomon Smith Barney, really being a buy side analyst and a sell side analyst covering the oil field sector. And in 2002, he became deeply interested in precious metals and really built a name for himself. And he stayed in that right through the financial crisis of 2008 and moving on. And in 2011, he joined Miles Franklin Precious Metals as their marketing director. And he left that this past August in 2017 to pursue his intense belief in Bitcoin and his overall interest in cryptocurrency revolution. So it's nice to see all this, because when we first started talking with Andy, he was still very much on the precious metals, looking into the cryptocurrency side. So welcome, Andy.
Yes, thanks for having me again, Kelly. I remember the first time you interviewed me, the price was about $500. I think it was like in July of 2016. A lot has changed.
It absolutely has, and it's, you know, as since you and I have talked last September, really, everything continues to change, and it's such a humongous market. And I know that a lot of people, you being a consultant in the industry, I know you're facing a lot of what the others of us are facing as well. We have people that are interested in getting in. Some people don't see how big this is. They don't really realize what's all going on. And then and they just want to get positioned. And if you're like me, you're at the point where you can't just position anymore, anybody. There is a big learning curve. So what are you seeing out there as far as the people that are subscribing to your website, that are following you, that are asking you for advice? And what do you see the big change for 2018 and what we're facing here to help those come into the area to become into the space with us?
Right. Well, the reason that I left the precious metal sector earlier this year, and look, I had started investing in and speaking very publicly about Bitcoin, obviously guardedly given my position. was 2 years ago, but I became more and more interested as Bitcoin jumped over more and more hurdles politically and technologically. And the timing of my leaving the precious metal space and coming and starting Crypto Gold Central coincided also with my essentially disposing of nearly all of my precious metal position and shifting it over to Bitcoin. And I would say that the key inflection point that changed it for me was when SegWit got not even activated, but locked in this July, when it was clear that the political wars were going to be won, that no one could split the network, and that with SegWit coming in, we'd see the technological innovation to scale it. Now, since I've started the website, again, as you see, it's a blog. I've been writing my whole life. I wrote in Miles Franklin. I wrote long before that. I wrote on Wall Street, and I write every day this blog about all the things that are going on in the crypto sector, principally about Bitcoin, but I mean, I'm including everything. I'm certainly talking about altcoins more and more. And I do obviously this consulting, which is a very, very big part of my business too. Mostly people who are trying to figure out, as you say, how to buy, how to store, and all kinds of things that you'd be asking if you're just starting out, you know, saying, hey, I think there's something going on here. The prices are obviously going up. There's a lot of mixed messages from the media about what it means, but I sense that there's something going on here and I want to be a part of it. Kelly?
Okay, I was muted. Sorry about that. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're like me, and I'm sure you are, you had a lot of people that you've been talking to. We're seeing this, and it's kind of funny in this area right now, but people who we talked to last year or the year before are not interested in cryptocurrency, and all of a sudden they're interested in cryptocurrency. So, and they're coming at this from just the perspective of just only knowing about Bitcoin. So as we know, the industry's huge, the blockchain technology industry's huge. What is your first reaction to people that, are you finding that people are just trying to come in to get position, or are you finding that people realize that there is a learning curve here?
I think they want to be in on something that's going up, and you know, when you need to get educated, not just about how it works, which is extremely complex to someone who hasn't done it. Once you've done it a little bit, you realize how easy it is and why it's so important and disruptive. But I think most part people are scrambling to wonder why this sector, not just Bitcoin, why this sector is going crazy and why so many people are talking about it. And, you know, I mean, I think I have to go back to 2 years ago when I was in the same position, and I sense a lot of urgency from people that just don't understand. And it really is, you know, the way I put it, I've written about putting cash in an ATM machine, like you're scared to do it because you feel like you're going to lose your money. But once you do it once or twice and you realize it works, then you go, oh, wow, this is easy. Of course, sending and receiving cryptocurrency is far easier than even driving to the bank. And, of course, dealing with the third parties between you and your money by the time it gets credited to your account. And so it's really, I think the most remarkable thing is that people want to get in because they want it, it's going up and they want to be a part of it. But once I show them how it works, it's just remarkable. Then they get it. Then they understand that you really can be your own banker and that you could save a ton of time and money and privacy and have personal freedoms that the governments, the banks, the system is trying to take away from you. And this is the tool to take it back. I think it's the most disruptive technology aside from the internet, you know, since electricity.
Absolutely, and you hit on the key points that I wanted to say is too that the education is so important, just to learn a little bit in the very beginning and then see that it's not that difficult. But if you skip that spot, then you're really, you know, that's a big biggie. So yeah, it is very much the biggest disruptive technology is Internet 2.0, and it is changing the way we do money in business. And we know that the establishment, and you know, I saw last week or the week before, I mean, banks have never been challenged before. They're being challenged now by the internet, and it's a huge bear, and that's what's happening. So they're not going away easily. I know that there's, when you get into the space and trying to use like debit cards that are connected with the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency, they don't make that easy either. But just know that there's going to be some challenges along the way. But what's happening in this is more beautiful than anything. So what do you think is going to happen? What do you think what's going to happen and what we'll see evolve in 2018 as far as regulation goes?
Right. Well, first off, I'm agreeing. I call Bitcoin, and obviously it's more than Bitcoin. It's everything. It's the great obsoleter, because in such an incredibly short amount of time, it's already turned tons and tons of legacy businesses into completely useless. And the top one, of course, is banks. So they can, quote, fight back all they want. But the fact is that cryptocurrency literally makes banks useless. It's also going to make capital markets useless, because in the future we won't need stocks and bonds anymore. Stocks and bonds have been manipulated and abused as much as the fiat currency system itself. And they are decentralized systems that are manipulated by the people that use them and are inefficient. They're centralized. Decentralized systems like crypto are going to be the future of money, the future of capital raising, and the future of lots of other things that we haven't even thought of yet. And I think I missed your question. What are we going to see in 2018?
Well, before you go there,
Yeah.
that's a great point, because getting people to see the paper that they're in now, what's going to happen to that. So talk more about that, because we have many people that are still in those paper assets.
Right. It's funny because I've been asked several times about this whole propaganda / FUD meme about electricity. Oh, it takes up so much electricity. How could you possibly use it? And I'm saying, well, for one, it actually doesn't take much electricity at all. It takes about, right now, 0.1% of the world's electricity. But more importantly, it's going to be replacing a lot of the electricity that's already in the system. I show you the banking system with all their computers and offices and wires and the million things they do use up a lot more electricity than cryptocurrency mining. So that's the gist of it. This is not supplementing the current system. It's going to be replacing it. And if you're asking about regulation, there's nothing they could do about it. When you think about, obviously, when you think about cryptocurrency, the first thing you think is, well, the governments and central banks are going to fight it tooth and nail because it's a challenge to their authority. It's the same kind of thing as gold. The big difference, though, is that gold is much easier to maintain. For one, governments they don't anymore, they had big inventories that they could play around with. They also had collusion going back 40 years that's well documented, and they have futures markets that can obfuscate the amount of gold that's out there. And it's worked very well. In the case of crypto, though, manipulating markets is all but impossible. For one, they don't have any to do anything with. There's no, it's not liquid enough for them to play around with. The governments, a lot of the governments are for cryptocurrencies, including big ones like Japan. So there's no real collusion there. And of course, you have the blockchain, which is as transparent as the bullion market is opaque. And as far as regulation, so you say, well, what are they going to do? I've said, when is the cryptocurrency market going to collide with the legacy market? And I think whatever's left of it's going to be this year. We saw a lot last year. I mean, the Chinese government comes in, they capital controls, banning withdrawals of Bitcoin, then banning exchanges outright, banning ICOs. Does anyone care? No. So you say, well, what's left then? If the Chinese couldn't do anything, what is going to be left to stop it? And you go, okay, well, you got the European Union, except they are kind of powerless because there's like 30 countries and half of them probably support crypto. And then you have the United States, which, yeah, they're powerful, but they're just 300 million people out of 7.5 billion, and they got the most debt in the world. And the biggest reason why crypto came around was because of the monetary policies of the Americans. So I'm not sure what they can do. I mean, if they could try to do what the Chinese did and say, okay, we're going to close Coinbase and make it illegal, but how? It's impossible. That's the whole point. It's decentralized. It's impossible to track everything. Exchanges are all but meaningless when you have localbitcoins.com, and pretty soon you're going to have all these decentralized exchanges like altcoins.io, like BISC. I think like everything else, you won't need stock exchanges any more than you're going to need stocks, and you certainly won't need Bitcoin exchanges. I talk about it. I wrote a while ago. Kelly, you've seen the movie Contact with Jodie Foster?
I have not.
Okay. Well, what happens is these space aliens, let's call them Satoshi Nakamoto, they send this message out in space through sound waves that Jodie Foster, who's like an astronomer, picks up the sound, And in it, there's these blueprints for this spaceship that you can build and send you in a time warp so you can go meet the aliens. And the spaceship plans say it should have no seat inside. Just put the person inside. But the people, but the engineers at like NASA say, no, we're going to put a seat inside because it's safe. And of course they put it in. If it weren't for her getting out of her seat to dramatically like grab her necklace, it falls off, she would have got killed when the the seat came off. And that's the way I kind of look at the exchanges. Like Satoshi's vision was peer-to-peer, was decentralized, not to have a bunch of money people create exchanges to control everything. And that was fine right now when we didn't have the technology to get past that, but now we do. So we're going to get rid of that seat. We're going to get rid of the exchanges. And once you get rid of the exchanges, there's nothing left for governments to do. So I think they'll try something. But again, when you have a global market like this, where people are buying it more in Asia than anywhere else, and the United States government admits that it's a danger, I think it's just going to make it more valuable, just as was the case when the Chinese admitted that it was a danger to them.
Yeah, very much. And the thing is, what we're seeing is people realizing that they do not have to answer to a private government organization, which is really what the Federal Reserve is. It's that's the eye opener. Our first course is the history of money, and I have a lot of people that once they get through that, they're like, wow, now I see why we're talking about this, because we didn't know, right? We didn't know. We just started putting that stuff in our wallet and started spending it because it's what everybody did. And so now people are realizing and getting self-educated that we don't need to be in that monetary system. And the real thing, and we've been talking about it for 3 years, people need to grasp the difference between centralized and decentralized. That's what it always comes back to. That's the big game changer. That's what we talk about a lot here, and I know that you push that as well and talk about that. I've also had somebody tell me that and it is the big, is the just the another big property that cryptocurrency has is the limited supply that it has. Let's talk about that compared to, because some people don't know this, compared to what the fiat is all about in the Federal Reserve System.
Well, I think you're asking the right person, given that this is what defined me and my persona for 15 years. Fiat currency, of course, has unlimited supply, and cryptocurrency, some of them, like Bitcoin, have limited supply. It's that simple, and that's what a lot of people who are disparaging it or they're scared of it, they say, well, that can't really be the case, but they don't understand cryptocurrency is math. Algorithms can't be changed in a decentralized format unless everyone agrees on it. And in the case of, say, Bitcoin, obviously no one is ever going to agree because its primary use case in a world of dozens and dozens of cryptocurrencies that can do all kinds of different things is going to be a store of value. And, yes, there are other ones that are like that, Litecoin to an extent. I'm really excited about this Bitcoin Rhodium, which is coming out soon, which is going to have a tenth of the supply that Bitcoin has over its life. But the point is, there are all different uses of cryptocurrency, and one of them is the storage of value. One of them is for cheaper, more efficient transactions. Others are to create social networks and platforms for specific types of trade that, again, sometimes they do involve, being a centralized party that's more efficient than the current version. But, when you're talking about pure cryptocurrency, you're talking about decentralized ways of disintermediating from the system, the banks, the governments, the corporate titans, the middlemen of all kinds who are trying to take a cut and in many cases manipulate the system. That's all gone when you have these kind of decentralized cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely. What cuts out so many, just like you talked about how it's going to reduce electricity, really the uses out of it. It's going to reduce all those middlemen in there and it going peer to peer. That's what it's about. And it's affecting every sector. We see it affecting the medical professions coming in, the insurance. So we've got coins out there supporting the whole industry there. So we're not just changing money, we're changing business as well to take, and even when we talk about all the things that Nexus has to offer, it holds true in the industry itself. Is there's so many things that the blockchain will correct, just by being what it is, being that peer-to-peer system of trustless need, no trust needed, taking out that human element to maybe not do things exactly the way it should be, the way it was in the old system. And I like to say old system versus new solution, because I do see cryptocurrency and blockchain net technology as a new solution, bringing back power to the people. It's truly freedom. It's got everything that I represent written all over it, and I just love seeing all the new stuff coming out. There's coins that are helping the music industry with copyright, helping musicians, so they're not having their contents and their creativity stolen. There's just so many things out there making the planet a better place to really do the right kind of have the right kind of economy, an economy driven by the people, not an economy driven by the made-up jobs to support the establishment. So everything as a big whole is changing, and Ethereum's been leading the way with smart contracts and helping people understand that. So as we've said from the very beginning, that this really is um, about deflating, everything and bringing abundance about. So there's so many beautiful things that come in this space just by understanding and positioning over here, and not fighting this new solution that's out there.
And I would say, Kelly, that of, let's say 97% of the people in the world do not own cryptocurrency or even really know what it is. But I would say that probably 90% of the people that do own cryptocurrency or have an idea what it is think it's more about in it being an investment than about what it actually means, what the revolution is. I mean, it's hard not to get caught up in how well it's doing, but the fact is the reason that they're going up is not because they are, quote, good investments. It's because there's a revolution behind it, a cryptocurrency revolution, a decentralized revolution. And, when people start to realize that the primary use case of the whole sector is to usurp the current sector, which has caused all the debt and inflation and loss of freedoms, then you're going to really see the excitement into the sector, because they are going to reject fiat currency. Fiat currency is inherently a Ponzi scheme. There's never been one that succeeded. We are in the later stages now of the biggest one we've ever had, and the only reason we've made it this far is because the governments have figured out a way to manipulate all markets all the time, whether it's gold or stocks or bonds, but they can't manipulate this, and the average person is going to start realizing that if they want a better future for themselves and for their descendants, that they need to learn about this and possibly invest in it, invest their time, invest their money. I mean, this is going to be where all the jobs are going to be going in the future, whether you're developing, whether you're working in an industry which is more dependent on cryptocurrency. And so there's just, I just see what the legacy system, as I call it, shrinking while this system takes all of its market share.
Absolutely. And I see some of those legacy system big players hopping in on this side as investors in some companies. And I do, when I research a company and so forth, I do check out who is behind all this. I definitely am tired of padding their pockets, but there's so many smart beings in this space. It's incredible. And you're very much right when you talk about people. That's what I'm seeing. People come in and they just want the investment, and we see the revolution behind it, or the changing into a new platform that we haven't seen. I don't believe we've ever seen this, because even when we had decentralization before and the ledgers on the cave walls per se, we didn't have the technology that we have now and the World Wide Web. So incredible time to be here in this space. It truly is. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to raise your hand too, guys. Yeah, I can't think of better, and I just love being here every day and seeing what new stuff comes out, and I'm sure you are as well. I have a couple little coins that I want to ask you about. You may know about, you may not know about, and you and I haven't talked about that. Enigma, have you heard of that company?
No, I probably, if you're going to ask me about coins, I'm probably only going to know about the top tier ones, because it's not that I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I just focus more on that, and I'm really more focused on, its role in the bigger crypto sector. So I mean, when you have so many of these, I just don't know what they all do.
Well, and that's a good point too, is there's so many out there. I believe I heard last week there's over 4,000 altcoins now. So it's hard to know what all's out there, but just getting positioned in the solid ones is, definitely a plus. So yeah, it's hard to know what all's out there, that's for sure. So you said that you are still, one thing that we haven't talked about that I think is a key thing for people to know is one of the major things that we talked about the first time we ever talked was you saw precious metals as never being able to replace the fiat, and that's where you saw cryptocurrency being able to replace the fiat. Talk a little bit about that for people that have not heard that analogy.
Well, yeah, I don't know. When you say I don't think it's right to say I didn't think precious metals could replace the fiat. I guess in some ways it is. I've always said, people have called me a gold bug, which was never true. The reason I owned it was because I knew it was suppressed, I knew it was a store of value, and I knew that the fiat currency was going to get printed into oblivion, as it always did. But I never believed that there'd be another gold standard, so I agree with you on that point, because governments destroy gold standards in the same way that they destroy fiat standards. They steal the gold, they lie about the gold. We did it twice in this country in 1933 and then in 1971. So why would anyone think now, when governments are more corrupt than ever, and by the way, have less gold than they've ever had because they've surreptitiously sold it all, why that would be any different? And then, but again, at that point, I said to myself, well, what are we going to have? There's really nothing else out there. We're not going to have a gold standard, but fiat currency is dying. So I kind of had a really negative view of the world, not necessarily Armageddon, but saying we have to have something really terrible happen to reset the system, and I just don't know what that'll be and what'll come afterward. But once crypto came around, I said, well, that makes all the sense in the world, because, I mean, just Bitcoin alone could serve both as I call it's the new gold. I think that at some point it'll be worth more than all the gold that's ever been mined. And at the same time, it could be the anchor of a monetary system which is decentralized. And when I say the anchor, it doesn't have to be I've never believed it will be the currency. I literally think there's going to be hundreds of cryptocurrencies that function in the global economy, some of them for transactions, some of them internally. I think there'll be an Amazon.com coin which will serve for transactions within the Amazon network, and that'll be just fine. I mean, there's all kinds of applications. But my point is that I do see what the future is now, so I am not worried about how we're going to get to an archaic past into a future that's unknown. So it's really exciting, and I have no doubt that Bitcoin will be a major, major pillar to whatever's going on. And I also have no doubt that there's going to be, I mean, it may even be thousands of cryptos, and they're all going to at some point be linked. You can call it atomic swaps, but it'll be seamless transactions between currencies doing different things in different countries, in different segments, different sectors. Some of them are going to be monetary, some are going to be privacy, some are going to be transactional, some of them are going to be intra-network. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, as Andreas says, he believes that maybe Bitcoin could be the reserve currency of all currencies, that there are going to be thousands, if not millions, of cryptocurrencies out there. They're going to be the Joey coin and the Jane coin and, all these coins. And when you see the beauty of what that can bring, that's incredible. Say your county or say your town has a coin and you're utilizing that, and that's bringing value into your community. So this is a big uprise in bringing back what it is that we're surrounded in, the things that we love in our area. So I can see all communities embracing this and bringing value back to their, to small town, and getting these big box and we talk a lot about this because we're all about the merchant shopper networks, but getting the big box stores out, which are establishment driven, which have not helped our economy at all. So we're going to see through this revolution a rising of the economy, like I said, into what really it should be, and that is driven by the people. So I can't think of anything more beautiful than to do that. And we just had to have the right tool to be able to hit money, which controls everything, or hit the fiat, which controls everything in that debt-based system. So I'm super excited and ready to start this year as we see it move into Main Street adoption. I do believe that'll happen in 2008. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, and again, I mean, Bitcoin already is the world reserve
Yeah.
cryptocurrency. So when you look at any exchange like a Bittrex, it's perfect. There's Bitcoin markets and there's cash markets, and it probably trades more in Bitcoin markets than anything else. And I do believe that in some way, shape, and form, that's going to be some part of the infrastructure of the new monetary world. And there's just, I mean, there's no doubt that it's going to be. It's just a matter of how and when. And you're saying, what will we see in 2018? Actually, I just wrote, again, my blog, you can get a free 7-day trial, or you can subscribe for a year for just $225. It's quite a value because I'm here all day long. I just wrote about what I expect for 2018. It's not that it's new because I've been talking about these topics separately, but I believe that, well, for one, I think that the sector is going to grow much faster than people believe. I think what you're seeing in the beginning of this year as what we call the wall of institutional money comes in is going to make what we've seen in the past pale, and not just the money coming into investment, but into capital investment into the sector. I think the launching of the activation of SegWit was a seminal event in cryptocurrency history because of all the, well, one, it drove the increase in valuations, and two, it's going to drive the capital investment. We're already seeing just an unbelievable, I mean, just the pace of development of new technology is incredible. I mean, the Lightning Network and all these things associated with Bitcoin scaling is just one part of it. And in 2018, I think we're going to see a wave of investment unlike anything since the top of the dot-com boom, except this will be far more productive spending because it's going to be on the infrastructure that's going to be the backbone of the global monetary system. So I do believe that that's going to be a major theme of this year. I believe we're talking about the collision of the legacy system with the old. I think that collision will be completed this year. I think anyone who's going to complain, who's left to complain, is going to complain and do their best. The U.S. at some point, when there's enough excitement, will do something, and it'll be a fatal something. It'll be a dumb move that they shouldn't have done, but they feel that they have to. Just like when the Chinese did their moves last year in September last year, 3 months ago, and permanently, destroyed their ability to have any influence over crypto. So I think those are two of the big themes. I think you'll see altcoins starting to need to differentiate themselves. I mean, this mania can only go on so long where everything just doubles and triples and quadruples without anyone knowing what these things are doing. You're going to see a settling down period where the cream will rise to the top and people will realize which technologies have value, which ones are growing, and which ones are just hype. And so you'll have to be more conservative. As for me, I'm pretty much in Bitcoin primarily, and a big part of it is that I get exposed to all these what I call crypto dividends, because I think that's one of the other big themes of this year, which started obviously late last year, is going to be the creation of new altcoins by means other than ICOs. Now, the ICO market, I do believe that that's the future of capital financing. As I said, it's decentralized, but I don't believe the current format is the way it's going to be, where just some anonymous guy and who knows where can say, yes, send me Bitcoin or Ethereum, and I promise I'll do stuff with it and send you a token. It's going to become, there's going to be an etiquette, there's going to be not regulation, but there's going to be a common way of doing things that people will understand. But in the meantime, you're going to see altcoins get formed via forks and I mean, we're looking now at airdrops. We're looking at not only forking from Bitcoin, there's one out there, it's called Be Private, that's going to fork into Bitcoin. So you're going to see a lot of creative new ways, financial engineering of how coins are created and managed, and you're going to see an incredible amount of capital spending so that the ones that have the real good use cases can actually discern themselves.
Yeah, that just hearing you talk about all that is just totally exciting, and to watch that happen. Well, it already is, but to watch it playing out is incredible. We have a question here from our friend Jeff Schraber. He said, "Hey Kelly and Andy, you are both part of this great quiet revolution. Andy, can you say something about Ripple and its relationship with banking?"
Yeah, I've said quite a bit about it lately. First of all, everyone, if you really want the definitive on Ripple, everyone knows Tone Vays who's listening. Just Google crypto scam Ripple, which he did about a year ago. I mean, the first thing about Ripple is that it really shouldn't even be on those tables because it's not a cryptocurrency. It's a token The way Jimmy Song put it, he said it's like no different than the tokens that Dave and Buster's use for the games. It's a token issued by, in unlimited amounts, a company called Ripple that's in San Francisco that is simply trying to facilitate, if you believe it's not a scam, that is, but if you just believe purely what they aim to do, which is real more marketing hype than actually doing anything because no one really uses the network, is just to facilitate international monetary transfers. I mean, that's it. And it's not really cryptographic. It's not decentralized. It has unlimited supply. It's competing with banks. So when you see like it says Bank of England or Bank of Russia or Bank of China creating their own crypto, well, they're going to do the same thing. People have speculated that it's because it's a low-priced. It's been around a while and it's priced at only $1. So that means it has more upside. But I mean, we're talking about it's trading at not like $90 billion market cap, and it really doesn't do anything, and it's certainly not competitive, and it's not really a cryptocurrency. And by the way, trivia question, Kelly, do you know who the person was who runs Ripple? What his resume is?
No, because I've stayed away from it and didn't want to give it any energy this whole time, so tell us.
Yes, for all you people who are looking for a good, honest person to invest in, he is the guy who created Mt. Gox and sold it to Mark Karpelès just in time for Mark Karpelès to realize that Bitcoin was missing. That's the guy who runs Ripple.
There you go. Yeah, it's listed right up here. It's been up at the top, for a long time and as you see, look at the market today. It's all green. So there you got your Ripple up there. So yeah, just nothing that I've been ever interested in, but it's nice to hear that information and get people knowing what they're actually doing. That's why the education here is so important, on just becoming your own bank. And then and I like Coinbase or CoinMarketCap here because you can click on any of these coins and you can go to the website, read about them, and that's what I suggest to anybody that's looking at, get your 3, 4, 5 hours of consulting in, get set up properly as a bank, learn a little bit, about what you're doing and why we're even talking about this, going into decentralization. And then when you want to expand your portfolio, make sure you're doing your own due diligence to looking at each country and company and find out the utility behind that. So Andy, what do you do when you've got we've changed. We used to be like I've been in cryptocurrency for 3.5 years now. So in my first part of learning about it, it was much more simple. I thought, or I thought it didn't think it was that much more simple at the time to tell people what cryptocurrency and blockchain technology was about. Now I see, because there were less people in it and it seemed complicated. Now with the whole industry not just moving from money but moving into business, what are some key points, some light bulb moments that you share with people that get them realizing the big change that's here? Give us some one-liners that when you're talking to somebody that throws you up with some arguments, or they're just way behind, or they're looking at this from a different, do you have a couple of things that you just share with people to get them right on track?
Well, I've spent my whole career refuting people first in the precious metal space,
You got a lot of
which is,
experience.
yes, it's rife with, they don't use the word FUD there, the term, but certainly propaganda and misinformation, some of it inadvertent, some of it purposeful, and which is the same thing here. But when it comes to just generally speaking, the way I always talked about how you understand how valuable, let's say, gold is, I say you hold in one hand a quarter, which feels literally like a feather. It's so light, you could tell it's completely worthless. And then you put in your other hand, let's say a gold coin or even a silver coin, and you realize how shiny and heavy it is and lustrous, and then you realize what went into getting it out of the ground as opposed to what went into minting a quarter, and you realize how much more valuable it is. And when I talk about, and you really have to hold it to understand, and the thing with crypto is you have to do transactions. That's how you understand. You have to get yourself, let's say, a Trezor. You have to, let's say you buy yourself some crypto and you send it to your Trezor instantaneously, or then you send it somewhere else instantaneously. That's when you realize why do we have a banking system? Why are there all these stores around us with all these employees and all these systems that are completely unnecessary? Why do I trust other people for things that I could do myself and pay them for the privilege of doing things I could do myself and do it inefficiently? I mean, you talk about one particular aspect of the system, which is mind-boggling when you realize how much more efficient. It's almost embarrassing. It's like the Flintstones, like an anachronism. When you try to send a bank wire, let's say it's Friday, and you're like, I got to send a bank wire, and then, oh wait, I can't do it for the whole week. Oh, it's a holiday, I can't do it for 3 or 4 days. And then when you do it, there's the AML KYC, and it takes hours, and it costs a lot of money, and then the other side has to get it and clear the money. I mean, as opposed to it could be midnight on New Year's Eve, and I could say, you know, Kelly, I'm going to send you $1 billion of Nexus token oh, and send it over to you in 2 seconds. Then you understand why the system that's there is going away and why the new system won't be replaced anytime in our lifetimes.
Yeah, that's a pretty exciting moment when you do your first transaction and it pops up. That's for sure. I love the Exodus wallet, and it just is, it's colorful. It's great for newbies as well as those of us that just like something that's easy. So I do like that, and it gives people the ability to hold their own keys while they wait to get, you know, a hardware wallet like a Trezor or a Ledger or something. So those are all elements that anybody needs to learn at the very beginning to be able to set themselves up as their own bank and know to hold their own keys. So those are the kind of things we're talking about, is just education that will just carry with you and really help things be much easier as you transition over. So just little things like that. That's why if you're talking to anybody out there that is interested and they're ready to move over into the space of decentralization, just making sure that they know the few little things that they need to will really change things. So, and that's what Andy's about, and that's what a lot of us are about, just showing people the way so that they don't get over here and they're all not knowing which direction to go, because there's a lot over here. I mean, there's no underestimation to say this is changing money and business that's been around for, you know, over 100 years in the Federal Reserve System that we know. So it's a big bear, and it's a big something that we've all been conditioned in. I mean, heck, I mean, you look at it, Andy, none of us were really trained in our 12 years of indoctrinational school to be anything but workers for the establishment, and we really weren't even taught how to balance a checkbook. So it's not our fault that we were pretty much dumbed down, but we're rising above. So that's another great reason to be in this side. It just lets you know the creators that we are and the beautiful space we're moving into, which is knowing that we have the power, and we don't need any third-party interloper to be in any of that. And just like Andy just explained, when you can move currency from A to B without that third-party bank that's closed on New Year's Day, which actually I had to deal with that yesterday. So anyway, yeah, it's always like, gosh, I have to go here again. So I've very much tried to stay in the cryptocurrency space. So great stuff. Let me see if we have any more questions here. I don't see any. Larry Branson says, good call. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it a lot. Give us I know you don't have it about 10 more minutes, so just give us a couple of things that you think, some tidbits that will help us as we move into 2008. Again, everybody, cryptogoldcentral.com. Andy puts out a blog every day. He's there, like he said, you know, all day long. One of the best people to learn about in this space for sure. He's very well known in the other side of the precious metals. I call it the other side, and moving into this. So yeah, so give us just 10 minutes of some important things that we all should consider in this space and the things that this decentralization brings to us, and we'll just recap that and then close out the call.
Right, and again, you know, that's mainly what I do with consultations. It's simple things, teaching people how to do things. You know, teach someone how to fish so they can fish, that kind of thing. And it doesn't take long to realize how easy it is and how you can be self-sustaining. But the biggest part, and you can go to Twitter right now. Well, I mean, you can go to my website and get a free trial subscription. But I put up on Twitter this morning my, things that you should do this coming year. And I say, right here, I'm saying you should create goals and vigorously pursue them. The first being education of how crypto works and how you can use it. Next, consider what the world may look like if crypto does gain leverage. Start to think of your wealth in terms of Bitcoin if you can. Start to move off of the fiat system. I already get a Trezor storage device. Get some crypto and get it off of the exchanges as quickly as possible. Learn how to manage your own system. Learn to stomach the plunges, ignore the FUD, and increase your level of conviction. Because we are heading into the digital age, whether you like it or not, whether the mainstream media likes it or not, whether the gold community likes it or not, whether the bankers like it or not, that's what's going to happen. It's that simple. And it's, particularly when I talk about the people in the gold community who just refuse to acknowledge it because they want to believe it's a competition that they're going to win. Well, it's not really a competition, but if you're going to view it this way, you're not going to win. The future of the world monetarily and as a storage of value both is in the cryptocurrency sector. And the sooner that you act to capitalize on this instead of be passive and let it pass you by. And I'm not just talking about investing. I'm talking about, this is where the jobs are. We're talking about a world starved for jobs in the legacy sectors that have been so destroyed by fiat currency and overcapacity that, this is where to go. Don't go to college. Learn how to do something that can help you within the blockchain industry, which is going to be the biggest industry on the planet within a few years. That would be the top things that I would say. And again, you have to get some. You have to have some skin in the game before you can truly appreciate it on a daily basis, and which is why I would say get a Trezor, buy yourself some Bitcoin, and at least start to watch it passively because it'll force you to educate yourself more than you would if you were on the outside looking in.
Absolutely. And to point out the jobs that are in this sector is amazing. I had been watching that for at least 6 months now through Indeed.com, and that's where a lot of people are posting the Bitcoin jobs. Incredible, the jobs that are out there and everything. I mean, the majority of them are technology-driven jobs, but there's other ones as well. And they're, from marketing to customer service to just a lot of different things. So lots of jobs out there in the sector. Everything is changing, then that's for sure. So just pay attention, guys. And I don't know that you'll be left behind for a long, long time, but the sooner you get into this, the more that, everybody that you'll see, that's for sure. So I like to see the light bulb moment come off and happen for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you still have a chance to be an early adopter. I mean, the way I put it is that, from an investment standpoint, we're we're just about to move past the early adopter stage into the bottom of the S curve. That's when it really starts to take off. But from an adoption standpoint, we're way in the early stages. So if you really are interested in capitalizing on it professionally, and of course, I think that the investments will be the best ever. I think Bitcoin could get to $1 million a coin. But I'm not even talking about that side. I'm talking about as far as bettering yourself and your future professionally. And socially, I think this is the time to embrace it, act on it, and not let it pass you by.
Absolutely. And, I'm not worrying about those that don't see it anymore. They'll get it eventually at their time when there need to be. So we are early adopters. But I do believe that 2008 is going to be where Main Street, the masses start to realize what is actually happening here. So we're in for a wild ride, and I'm totally excited. I've been pumped for 3 years now being in this space. So glad to be here. It's the most fun I've ever had in my life as far as being just a vigilante, just really a volunteerism, doing volunteerism to support this into true freedom. So I'm super excited. I know you are, Andy, and all those that continue to stay in this space and just help educate, which education is the real wealth. Knowledge is the real wealth. So gaining that is just priceless. And then moving forward in whichever direction anybody sees fit in this big space is, up to whatever anybody wants to do. Well, I do appreciate you being on today, Andy. As always, you always bring so much to the table. And I have to tell you this funny little story. When we were in Acapulco back 2 years ago, we were a sponsor. Nexus was a sponsor. And in the room, we were the only cryptocurrency sponsor, anything to do with blockchain. And there were four precious metal guys in there. And everybody was, they just thought they were the big bull in the room, right? And so and like you said, we know there's no competition, so we were just kind of sitting over there letting them have their heyday. But yeah, so now that conference has turned into, they have a whole day for cryptocurrency. So it just goes to show that it's huge and it's big. So any last closing words?
No, just I appreciate everything you're doing, and people come to cryptogoldcentral.com. Again, free trial subscription. Check it out. You can contact me at ahoffman@cryptogoldcentral.com, and also my Twitter feed. I am really, really active. Andy_Hoffman_CG.
All right, there you go, Andy_Hoffman_CG. So yeah, get on these tweets. Andy's got a lot of great information, great guy to really get some information from each and every day. So appreciate all you do as well, Andy. We look forward to having you back on the Kelly and Kelly show again. And let's just keep this revolution going. And I know we are, and having fun with it. So take care, Andy, and we'll see you back next time. Thank you so much.
Same here. Thanks.